how much off your launch?
500K.
That's insane. All through YouTube?
Yeah, like 99% through YouTube for sure.
Meet Leo, a 21-year-old who launched a product which made $500,000 in 70 days with YouTube without knowing anything about the platform. He doesn't have an editor.
We found that a lot of the time they were pretty slow. They weren't really reliable.
He doesn't have a thumbnail designer.
We kind of just made a thumbnail in like 5 minutes on Canva and then just used that.
I don't think he knows anything about YouTube.
What you're telling me is that you're terrible at YouTube.
Probably, yeah.
I wanted to interrogate him to learn how he comes up with video ideas, how he makes videos without an editor or a thumbnail designer, and the secret sauce to producing banger YouTube content.
So wait a second, you made how much off your launch?
Yeah, off launch, we did about 500K in the first 70 odd days.
And you have how many subscribers?
I've got like 2,000 maybe, and I think Matt started at 0 for sure, or he just started, and I think he's at like 10,000 now in the last couple of months, so he's growing pretty quick.
That's insane. All through YouTube?
Yeah, like 99% through YouTube for sure.
Yeah, man. So I'm curious about your YouTube strategy. Can you tell me more about that?
Like, define YouTube strategy. I wouldn't even say that we have much real, like I know there's like YouTube strategists that will go ahead and sort of take different stuff that works in different industries. I've looked into it, you know, a little bit. Obviously, it would be irresponsible of me not to, but I guess the way that we've done it has probably been a bit more untraditional in the YouTube sense, because the way we look at it is when we're doing YouTube, we're not really looking to be Mr. Beast. Like, actually, if we get that many views, if we were getting Mr. Beast level views or even 1 million views, it's probably likely that we're not talking about the stuff that our customers actually care about. So it makes it kind of harder, and there's kind of a correlation between that. So in terms of like how we come up with ideas, how we come up with, you know, how we structure the content, really what we focus on is kind of like, what exactly do our customers want to know? What are their pain points, and what are they, you know, what sorts of questions are they asking? So, I mean, like, for example, because we scaled so quick, if I take, you know, 150 plus one-to-one personalized onboarding calls, as soon as someone, you know, signs up with us as a client, you end up hearing a lot of this stuff. Hey, what made you join? What were you struggling with? What sort of things are you currently doing with your outreach, paid ads, and content strategy? You know, what are you struggling with? And then what we can do is with that, not only can we use that to structure the way we make our lead magnets, the way we actually structure the videos and what we talk about in the videos, but also just the general kind of outline of the overall strategy and what we're trying to achieve. And, you know, most of the time, because it's business to business and not business to consumer, a lot of the time that's just going to be purely focused on utility. So it's like, what's the question? The question is, how do we provide the most utility in the market to have a lot of satisfied viewers? That's a lot of times just going to be targeting the biggest pain points and solving the biggest problems for free in content, so then they can sort of progress towards the paid stuff.
Gotcha. So you brought up a bunch of big words there, right? Onboarding customers. Do you have like a business behind your YouTube?
Yeah, I like to think we have a business behind YouTube. You know, I like to think. So we're running 1000xleads.com, which is basically a consulting program for agencies, and also just B2B companies in general. So my co-founder, Matt, was, you know, smart enough to scale a marketing agency to 900K per month in under 12 months. Damn. So a lot of people on agency YouTube, I think, probably would have seen a couple of his videos. They see the big Miro board. They see the guy who's, you know, handsome young guy in the bottom right with the screen share, or bottom left with the screen share. And basically what we do is we help agency owners scale way, way faster, because honestly, if you want to have a complete marketing funnel, it takes years and years and years to figure it out. So what we do is we just give them basically all the SOPs, standard operating procedures, all the frameworks, basically everything that you need to be able to scale, we have, which is kind of weird because it doesn't articulate it that well. But basically, when you look at paid ads, lead gen content, lead magnets, conversion mechanisms being sales calls, video sales letters, newsletters, webinars, live workshops, and all of the stuff that you need. Yeah, that's basically what we specialize in, because it's pretty hard to scale that fast. So we just basically have all those playbooks ready to go.
Gotcha. So you guys have like all of these playbooks, you know, paid ads, content and whatnot. Like, how much percentage of, you know, like the growth of your business is contributed mainly to YouTube?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so far it would be in the realm of 99 to 100%. Yeah. Just because obviously we just launched in the last couple of months, and what we wanted to do was get an initial cohort in and really just dial in the product and work really, really closely with the initial customers. You know, obviously you're always going to be close with your customers, but even closer than normally, potentially. So then what we can do is we can continually improve on the product. So really, like, at this point, 99% of my time is spent on the product, and it would be similar to Matt. It would be a pretty high percentage of his time is on the product. So literally all we do is work on the product and post YouTube videos at the moment.
Gotcha. So work on the product and post YouTube videos. I want to first ask about your YouTube, and then I'll ask about Matt's. Like, how do you, like when I look at your YouTube, not really any thumbnails, and like the videos aren't really edited. Like, how big is your team behind all of these YouTube videos right now?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think we're probably not that normal in the way we go about it. We currently have essentially 0 team members helping us for YouTube, like actually 0. We've worked with a few contractors for thumbnails, and we kind of like did a little bit of stuff with editors, but we found that a lot of the time they were pretty slow. They weren't really reliable. Even when we had thumbnails, it was very rare that those thumbnails actually converted better than what our thumbnails had been converting, just because, I don't know, we just kind of had this, not like a raw, authentic style, which I know is kind of becoming popular at the moment. We kind of just made a thumbnail in like 5 minutes on Canva and then just used that. And we found kind of, worked fine. Didn't really have any problems with it.
Yeah, you made it on Canva, and some of them like it's just pictures of you. Like you just take it from within the video. Is that like something strategic or like?
Nah, there's no method to the madness. Like when we're selling B2B stuff and when we're optimizing for B2B, as in business to business consumption, and we're trying to get a business owner to consume it, what I found was that when I'm a business owner, I'm watching a piece of content and it's all hyper edited and there's all this stuff going on and there's, things popping all over the screen. It almost takes away from the video. It almost detracts from the video in that it's kind of a distraction. It's almost a tell that someone doesn't have that much to say when they're too focused on all the external stuff and they're trying to be too focused on the optimizations. What we found was that if we just focus 100% of our energy on the usefulness of the video, the utility of the video, articulating things really, really clearly and making it really simple for people to solve these problems, then we could just do it. Like one of my favorite YouTube channels was Khan Academy growing up. I don't know if you know them.
Everybody knows Khan
Academy.
Yeah,
the guys who did maths. There's nothing going on there, but they'll get millions and millions of views. So we kind of take that approach. It's really educational rather than entertainment. And of course, there's ways to do it in a more optimized way, which we will tap into. But we just found, if this is working for us, if this is going well, why not just kind of continue?
Gotcha. So, while most people within the business space have kind of gone down the challenge route with the drop shipping videos, you guys don't really have any edutainment built into it. It's mainly education and you speak a lot about utility. Like, how do you think about making the videos useful? How do you think about making them utility wise? Yeah,
it's a good question. I mean, at the moment, there's kind of 2 main ways you can go. You can kind of go the raw, authentic way where you can kind of just talk at the screen, which I have done and had success with, and so has Matt. Then there's the other way, which is typically like the YouTube way, like where you do the challenge videos or you do, top 5 things to do here or something like that, like Watch Mojo or whatever. I think really the only thing that actually matters, especially when it comes to utility, is when someone watches your video, do they learn something that they can actually apply? So what that means is like, if I tell my little brother, hey, here's how you turn on the lawnmower, like this is how you mow the lawn, and then I show him how to do it and I say, this is how you do it, and then he tries to do it and it just doesn't work, he's not actually learned anything. He hasn't taken anything away. And that means that my advice, whether it was the correct advice, whether it was whatever, it doesn't matter because he didn't learn anything. He didn't take anything away from the video. So I think something that people get wrong is you can have all of these complex Miro boards, you can have all of this stuff, but nothing matters if they don't actually change their behavior in some way. It's silly because if they don't change their behavior, they don't take something away from the video, it's entertainment, no matter what. And as soon as you get into that entertainment sort of frame of your videos, you are competing with every piece of entertainment. You're competing with UFC, you're competing with Netflix, you're competing with the new season of The Gentleman, you're competing with TikTok, etc. And you kind of fall into that lane, which I think is a big, big downfall of a lot of channels that are trying to educate, is they try and do too much entertainment, puts them kind of too far in that entertainment niche. Alternative is kind of what we do is 100% optimizing for utility and kind of changing behavior and helping people learn stuff.
Gotcha. You mentioned that you want to make your content as actionable, as educational as possible. Do you have any frameworks that you think about when, maybe you script your videos, or, when you think of video ideas, how do you think about, okay, how am I going to change the behavior of someone who watches this video? How do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot of stuff that we do to try and make it as actionable as possible. I think one way you can do it, and the one way you can think about it, is just think, if you had a sibling that was an addict, let's say they were really, really hooked on alcohol, and you had to convince them, how am I going to get this person to stop doing what they're doing or do what they're doing in a different way?
Yeah.
One way that people have done that in the past is, you know, if your mum's trying to ask you to do something, they'll say, well, you need to do this because I'm your mother and I raised you and I held you in my womb for 9 months. And that's one way to do it. That personally never worked out well for me. Sorry to my mum. I was always someone who needed a bit more of a logical persuasion where someone would say, here's the reasons why. Here's why this is important. Here's, you know, the implications of doing it this way. Here's the implications of doing it that way. Here's, you know, 5 examples of when it worked. Here's exactly how to do it. So within that, it's kind of like reasons why, number 1. Number 2, implications of doing it my way, implications of doing it someone else's way. And then other versions of that would be giving examples of when it's succeeded. So for example, we did this with this person and then this happened. When you're talking about, obviously in the education space, it's like, hey, do this step. So it's like, why do I want to do that step? Who else has done that step and succeeded? Why do I need to do it that specific way? And then also another thing is giving a really actionable exact plan. So saying, so you're doing this step, you want to do it this exact way. You want to select that exact setting. Don't do it this way because that's going to lead to this downfall. And then also using things like frameworks, templates, guides. That can be your lead magnets in the description. So you can have extra guides that you're either giving away for free in exchange for information or selling that can make it more actionable. So it's just the more plug and play, the more, you know, simple and fast that something can be done, the better, and I guess the more actionable.
So just for the audience, you mentioned lead magnets. Like, how does lead magnets kind of link with your YouTube videos?
Yeah, it's a good one because often lead magnets are kind of just an extension of a YouTube video. And a lead magnet at its core is essentially just something that you're going to use to get someone's contact information. So it's just, like, if you think about it, very, very core. It's a magnet of a lead. So when you have a YouTube video, you have people, you have traffic kind of congregating in a certain spot. So if you want to magnetize a lead and you want to get someone to take one step towards you, really the only way to do that is by giving them something super, super valuable that solves a problem for them. So I might have a lead magnet on, you know, how to create a B2B content strategy. That's something that's worked really well for us on cold traffic. And the reason that works is because our viewers might be thinking, you know, how do I come up with a content strategy? That's a problem they have. So I can immediately solve that problem, whether it's a guide, whether it's some type of, you know, piece of content, whether it's a PDF. People have had success with those sorts of things, but you can also use things like checklists. You can use things like AI services and different services that you can fulfill for free. Typically the one that has just worked the simplest and best is some sort of PDF or guide that's valuable. They give you the information, you send them the doc.
Gotcha. And these lead magnets, some of your YouTube videos is just you reading over these lead magnets, and you really want to optimize for just education, you know, educating them on the problem and helping them solve it. Like, that's like the main thing that you're striving for with these lead magnets, yeah?
Yeah, well, pretty much. Like, one of the biggest problems you can face when you're trying to have any sort of business is that no one knows who you are. Like the core function of advertising, which, you know, most businesses use, like you'd pretty simple thing to say. Most businesses use advertising to let people know about their stuff and say, hey, we have this thing. Do you want to buy it? So that's kind of to solve the problem that no one knows who you are. So really one of the biggest things that you need to be optimizing for, or at least that we optimize for, and we've obviously had a certain level of success, is letting people know who you are. Because if you're running around and you sell any sort of service and it's in some level of product market fit, which means people want to buy that thing, the only problem that you would have is that no one knows you. So for example, if I'm going to build a website and I don't know how to do that, I'm going to think, who do I know that builds a website? And it's the simplest thing in all of business, but I think it's quite neglected, is that I'm just going to use, or I'm just going to pay the person that I know that does websites. It's really not a complex process. And that's why you see people with really good personal brands just consistently have a lot of business, and people that are kind of popular, it's like, oh, do you know someone who builds a website? Yeah, I know this guy down the road builds websites. I'm just going to pay him. So really what you're kind of doing is just expanding your surface area by giving people something they want in the content. So you get more views, more people know who you are, and you can sell more stuff to them. Okay.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I'm curious if you are, when you're making your videos, whether you're trying to optimize for views, right? Because you were showing me your dashboard just now, 9K views in past 28 days. The perception that people have is that you need to have hundreds of thousands and millions of views every single month, right? Every single video has to be a viral hit. But you've kind of went the other way, where you're like, you know, not really optimizing for, you know, for views. Like that's it almost seems like that isn't that much of a concern to you. Is that what you're thinking of? Like, do views matter or what?
Yeah, well, views is an interesting topic, because there's a time for top of funnel and there's a time to try and go viral, and that time will come and we need to scale into new audiences.
Yep.
But I think there's also a time to just really create a strong base of B2B viewers, like people that run a business that watch your stuff. And I think really the only way of doing that is just giving them stuff that's really important to them. So I think most people would have seen something with Hormozy where there was a good period of time where he was kind of making content that was like, here's how to do stuff in the gym. Here's how to, have a good diet. Here's how to, have a relationship. And the consequence of that is, yeah, sure, he gets more views, but a lot of his ideal customers don't watch it anymore because it doesn't provide utility. So if we're really trying to build this brand, I think the right way to build a brand is have a really, really, like, not a cult-like audience, but create a lot of value really, really quickly. And if you want to get famous, you can get famous. That's like you just press the button where you produce a ton of short form and then just go that way. But yeah, I mean, with B2B, like one B2B view is probably worth 10,000 regular views. Just because if someone's running a business, they're in my ICP, like they're my ideal customer, that's someone I can sell to. That's worth everything to me. Whereas, for example, I've had TikToks where I just post something random for fun almost, gets 700,000 views.
Yeah.
I might get 0 leads from that just because I'm not saying anything of value.
It's the wrong audience.
Yeah, complete wrong audience.
Okay. And you mentioned you have a business partner, Matt, and one of the videos that we were looking at got over 100K views. Like, it was the first video that you guys really posted with the famous thumbnails, and then you guys used the same thumbnail for like 30 different videos. I just want to hear the thought process behind, that very first video. Was it like kind of intentional? Was it kind of an accident? Like, how'd you guys think about making that video?
Well, I'm pretty sure it was just a workshop that Matt had done talking about how he scaled his agency from 0 to 900K a month, which, I mean, we're going to be doing that stuff anyway. I think what we thought was, hey, this has been valuable for the people that got to see the workshop. Let's just post a recording. And it kind of just went down that way. Wait,
so that video was just a Zoom recording that you guys posted, and it was just extra content you had lying around, so you just posted that?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I think Matt, I don't even think Matt's lights were on in his house. I think he was just sitting in a dark room, and he just made like a presentation and just presented it. And really, the biggest thing is, number one, Matt has a sick track record. So we're talking about stuff that's not only impressive, but it's been done before. And it's like, hey, this guy's done this, he's done this great thing. I want to hear about how he did that. And then number two, it's also really, really simple. So I think something like a trap you can fall into is, oh, well, I want to sound so smart. I want to, say all these crazy words and I want to do all this yada, yada, yada. To be honest, that never works. I've tested that sort of stuff before and looked and like, hey, what happens if I do this? It just doesn't really work. People really don't want to watch a video and be made to feel stupid or low IQ. They want to watch a video and think, wow, I really understand this. And that guy did that amazing thing. And it wasn't that complex. It was just that he did this simple stuff. Maybe if I do that simple stuff, I could have a similar result, which is kind of, it sounds kind of simplistic, but you want to be as simple as possible. If there's one thing I've learned, it's just this, like, simple is good, complex is bad.
So on Matt's channel, after the success of that first video, you guys used that same thumbnail for like 30 different videos. Was that like kind of intentional, or was it more like out of convenience?
To be honest, like, we had tested other stuff, but the CTR on those thumbnails that are just a same Canva template were pretty good. And it also took like 2 minutes, took less than 2 minutes, took 1 minute just to type it up. Because obviously we're running a business. Like, we're not, like, we got 150, 160 plus clients. Like, we didn't really have time or bandwidth to optimize for that. And yeah, of course we could get, thumbnail editors and stuff like that. If there are thumbnail editors watching this, just DM me and I might have a job for you, because we will optimize that sort of stuff going forward.
Yep.
But I think what we really wanted to focus on out of the gate was just the 80-20. So we're like, if we just do this stuff, it's going to work. And the stuff that was the 80-20, the stuff that got most of the results for us, was just the utility. And I keep kind of harping on about it, but it's just, how actionable is this? What did you learn from this video? What did you take away from this video? And as soon as we get that down, which I think we have, that's when we're going to start to scale with, team editors, thumbnail people, etc. But I think, to answer your question, like, was there a strategy behind it? Not really. It was just that we'd rather focus on the utility, and we'll probably hire thumbnail people later.
Gotcha. So what you're telling me is that you're terrible at YouTube.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like you guys are optimizing more for like a minimum viable content, where it's like you focus on the 80% that gets the results, which is making the content valuable, especially in like a specific B2B market. And then the other 20%, neglecting a little bit, right? Maybe the content falls short a little bit, but you guys have more of your bandwidth to run your business. That's kind of the sense that I get.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't think many business owners would have the time to spend, 8 hours a day prepping and planning content. And I mean, if you have a team to help you run that, that's awesome. And that's going to help you a lot. We don't have a team. So we're kind of just making content while we're in the middle of working, in the middle of making, different stuff for our product and working with our clients. So we were kind of just like, how can we generate maximum value and get maximum results with, respectfully to YouTube and the YouTube strategists of the world, minimum effort on the YouTube side. And I think that's something that's really valuable because, if you're a business owner, you kind of need to post on YouTube. Like, I think people kind of have come to that understanding that there's value in it. But I think the biggest bottleneck or the biggest roadblock is time. So you just kind of have to figure out what's getting the result here and then just do nothing else that doesn't get the results.
Yeah, because there was a good period of time, like 2-3 weeks, you guys were posting once a day, once every 2 days. And that's like really impressive, especially if you're running a business, you have customers to deal with, you have to work on your product. And you guys were still posting like more than 99% of other YouTubers, or not more than 99% of other business owners. Like, what kind of gave you the drive to like, okay, I'm going to do this every day. I'm going to do this every other day.
Well, I think we were kind of just testing it out and we were like, well, we know this is important. We just need to allocate daily bandwidth to it and just kind of make it a habit to post. And what that really did was, or the benefit of it was, if you're not good at something, you kind of want to minimize the amount of time that you're not good at it for, just so you can get good as fast as you possibly can. So we really wanted that feedback loop early on to just say, what happens if we have no thumbnail? What happens if we have, a basic Canva thumbnail? What happens if we make a video about this? Long videos, short videos, videos where it's just, 5 minutes and we're just trying to see if we just drop 5 actionable points. Is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? What happens if we do a Zoom presentation? What happens if we have a Gamma presentation? What happens if we have a Miro presentation? What are the stats and how do all these things go down with the customer? And really just kind of trying to find that content market fit where you find a couple of repeatable formats that you can kind of consistently churn out over time. Again, just to make sure that you're doing something that's really good for your business, like first of all, like in terms of advertising, but then also is really good for your business in terms of the amount of time and bandwidth that you have to allocate towards it.
Cool. So you mentioned that you have future plans for your YouTube channel. Do you guys plan on bringing on a team, or you guys just gonna stay making these minimum viable content? Like what's in it for Leo Moore?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think really now what we're going to do is try and scale our team a little bit. So we're going to need quite a few editors, most likely. We're probably going to do some short form stuff as well.
Yeah.
We might even do, we'll probably need thumbnails too, because I would like to scale into completely cold audiences. I can't imagine we can keep kind of churning out the same templates. I think it does get a bit tired. So yeah, really now what we're going to do is do more and better. So consistently just keep posting, build up the audience, post more actionable stuff than ever. Really keep focusing on the customers and how can we make a channel that's, one of the best in terms of utility. I think that's going to take a few years of time, but I mean, what's a few years? It'll be worth it 100%. So yeah, I guess to answer your question, I think a big thing for us is increasing production value, like in terms of the next lowest hanging fruit. So things like getting a better setup, things like making areas where you can record, like a projector, using a whiteboard. I got a video that did, decently well recently with the whiteboard. And it's really just trying to almost continually just get ideas where you can dynamically show not only what you do so people can know who you are and can kind of build that trust, but also so people can experience the value completely for free, which is like one of the best. It's one of the coolest things ever that you can just Google, answer to a question that you really want to know. Like that's an insanely valuable thing just for people. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm optimizing for. Just maximum value, make it look a little better. Maybe is somewhere where we've fell short, and you've been gracious enough to let me know a bit about that. But yeah, just kind of doubling down on what's worked, tweaking a few things, and just doing a lot more volume.
Yeah, more and better. I like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and that's a wrap.
Yeah, it's been good to chat.